Inside the Birds is back. What's up, everybody? It's Geoff, Mosher, and Adam Caplan, and it is over. Kaput, done, gone. 2023 Philadelphia Eagles training camp is over, and Adam, you and I noticed that it ended with a bang.
We were there. Yeah, we saw.
We were there. It was a chippy practice, joint practice between the Eagles and Colts, and Adam and I separately probably observed a few things, even way before ones versus ones that was going on, that you could just tell leading up to ones versus ones, Colt starters versus Eagle starters, that the chippiness that was going on, that something might happen. And of course something happened. Everybody knows about it by now. The big sort of, now it was a melee in the fact that both sides emptied. There were some punches thrown, obviously, but it got settled very quickly. We've seen some training camp fights that spill over, and then two guys get separated from the pack, and they're fighting, and they're going at it. Like this one was a little bit, I would say it was quelled really quickly compared to what you see from a lot of team scrums, but nonetheless, it ended camp, and that's a wrap on 2023 Eagles camp.
Yeah, there was actually that skirmish, which was like a minute, and then there was something before it was just a lot of pushing and shoving.
Right.
That's what that precipitated that. So,
and then before that, Adam, there was AJ Brown. So like you're talking about what Derek Barnett was doing. Before that, AJ Brown was mixing it up with them. So there was like three stages of this thing.
It was weird. Yeah, it was weird. And it wasn't like it was 90. It was, the weather was in the mid 70s. The humidity was low. Typically, when I've seen these fights going back over 20 years, it's usually really hot. Then, as you said, this concluded training camp for both clubs, and they got the game tonight, and that'll do it. And then we've got the cut down to 53. There's no such thing as final cuts. That never has been, never will be. Your roster's never fully set. It's just you have to be, this Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, you have to be down to 53 players. And the Eagles won't wait, folks. The names will start on Friday. They always do. They'll they'll just trickle out, and then we'll get into some moves they made this week, which are interesting. And look, that the Eagles have a history of making trades at the deadline. They don't do it at every deadline to get to 53, but the initial 53, the fluid 53. But because as we thought would happen for training camp, and boy, were there so many great battles and interesting battles, there's still some unsettled positions, man. It's not what you want at this time of year, but look, the roster's not as good as last year's in terms of overall 50 or 90 man. The starting unit's terrific for the most part, but there's some issues still going on with this roster.
Glad you brought that up, because I remember thinking to myself, in all my years of covering the Eagles, which is almost on 20 here, I can never remember on the last day of training camp still seeing so many rotations that were specifically rotations to make people get snaps to evaluate, not just like we rotate on the defensive line because that's what we do. Sure. We're going to do that. These were rotations to get guys in to get a look at how they're performing. We're talking about, we'll get to like safety and linebacker and things like that. And I just remember thinking, wow, I mean, this is the end, the quote unquote end of training camp as far as open practices. But what it really just means is you're about, almost a month in, and yet there's still heavy evaluation rotation going on. And that's pretty rare and unique for this time in training. You might see it at one spot, or, two guys jockeying for one position at the end, but we're seeing it a little bit more widespread here with the Eagles defense.
Yeah, look, and we'll get into it as we preview the game tonight. There are lots of jobs open still for the back of the 2s and 3s, depending on the position. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah,
it was a good camp. In fact, I wound up going more than I anticipated, but it was good. And the weather, just talking to people who've been there, for the most part, it's been pretty good. There were some days in the 90s, but it was not. I mean, you and I, the dog days of Lehigh, and some of those in the middle of the field, out there in the country, in the 90s, just the brutal heat.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't too bad this time around.
Plus, you in pads for hours, like it even felt hotter than it was just because of that, right? I mean, you're watching guys all suited up and helmeted up and everything.
Hey, question on that. Did you go to the special teams practices at Lehigh? I rarely did. This is the one the afternoon, just special teams only.
When I started on the beat, yes, because I thought I had to be there. And
right.
then,
exactly.
a lot of times you went to the special teams practices, not because you really wanted to watch special teams, but because you were working on a story and you still needed somebody's quote. So you were hoping it would be a short session and you can grab that person after. But then Harbaugh would just keep everybody out there for God knows how long. It felt like a marathon. And then you'd have to wait way longer. And then by the time you got you're like, I guess I have to run this story like the next day because I need time to write it. It's already 5:30. These guys are just getting off the field. I'm just getting done with. And then, by the way, you may not be able to get that guy. He may want to go to the locker room, get changed first, and then talk to you after. So those were the dog days, my friend.
Who took over for Harbaugh? I'm drawing a blank.
Special teams coordinator that took over. Bobby April. No, Bobby April.
I thought this would have later.
To be. Yeah, he did come later. This would have to be.
Can't remember.
2000, and that's a correct. Oh, Rory Segrest, I believe, was special teams coordinator.
No, he was D-line coach, was he not?
I thought he went from special teams to defensive line coach.
Maybe he did. And by the way, who did I see last week in Detroit? Rory Segrest.
Because he's with Jacksonville, right?
Right. What are the chances? We talk about full circle because I remember when I saw Dave. I said hello to Dave Phipp, from Eagles special teams coach. I haven't seen him in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wait, who's that bald head guy? Oh my gosh, that's Roy Segrest. I forgot he was here. Press Taylor, crazy. And of course, and Doug Peterson and that group of coaches. But we digress. So anyway, yeah, it's the end of training camp here. And next week, on your point about these battles aren't over, next week when the media only gets the first 15 minutes or 20 minutes of practice, they're preparing for New England, but those are normal. Those will be the last set of practices between the week one.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, when they eliminated the fourth preseason week, that's what that week is. It's the blank week where they'll still do this. It's not training camp. Although the Giants, it's funny, on the Giants schedule it says training camp next week, but they've done that for the last couple of years. A couple other teams do that, but nevertheless, there's some battles still to be won here.
All right. By the way, Rory was the special teams coordinator for 3 years before becoming defensive line coach. So my memories, I still got him, man. I still got that steel trap.
Good call. Now, here's my trivia. What college did he come from? If you get that.
Sanford, right?
Yes.
Come on.
I didn't think he'd get it. I love the obscure. That is amazing. That one I didn't think he'd get because it's just because I remember writing about him. Who I might have been working for Scout.com. Then I did some bio on him. I don't know why. I don't know what I don't know what the significance was. Oh, maybe it's because he became a special teams coach. Maybe that was it.
Possible.
That was either assistant or D-line coach after
that. He went to assistant D-line coach, right? Yeah, he went. Yes, special teams coordinator. No, he started off. All right, he started off as the special teams coordinator / I think assistant D-line coach.
Oh,
and then special teams quality control / assistant D-line coach.
How do you know
then
this?
He became the special. I did look this up after you said that, but not what college. I'll always remember that Sanford from him.
Yeah.
Because another thing about Sanford, right? That's in Birmingham, Alabama, if I'm not mistaken, right? There was an Eagle player who went to Sanford that I always remember that. I don't know. It just sticks out in my head.
You are right. No, there's definitely a decent player went to Sanford, SAMFORD, not to be confused with Stanford. Anyway.
Yeah, Sanford in Alabama, right? All right, so let's get into some of the things. By the way, we had a great chat on Ask ITB live chat with our Patreon members, and I think the best thing about it was just sort of discussing not just the linebacker picture, the offensive line depth that we'll get into, but we all had a really wonderful kind of, all of us, it was sort of a kumbaya moment about how great the Eagles receivers are when if you've been a long time Eagles fan and you're over the age of 40 or even 50 or anything above that, you have never seen a wide receiver group this talented. To talk about the top two outside receivers.
Best I've ever seen. And then, it was cool because it was less about questions to us. It was more about back and forth ideas and where things were set with the roster or not set, so to speak. But I mean, if you look at the 32 teams, and you made a very good point in that, okay, Waddle and Tyreek Hill clearly are right up there with Smith and Brown. Mm-hmm. But of course, they're different. They're more of a speed combo, but they're great. Tyreek Hill is arguably the NFL's best receiver. But this duo, and the old timers could, Tommy McDonald, obviously he was a Hall of Famer and has passed away, number 25. But I don't know who the other receiver was with him. But
PP host, was it?
It might have been who? Yeah, it might have been. I was thinking him. But look, I remember Freddie Barnett and Calvin Williams. Decent duo, obviously doesn't compare to this one.
Yeah.
The
big thing is that Quick and Carmichael never played together in the height of their career.
Right.
You could make that argument there, but they were never at the prime of their career together.
I remember talking to Harold about this. People give him guff for ending his career with the Cowboys. When I see him, I used to tease him about. I'm like, how could you do it, Harold?
Yeah, that was rough.
Anyway,
poor Harold.
Great guy.
Yeah, A+ human being, Harold Carmichael, and Mike Quick, by the way. Mike Quick also.
Quick. I either call him Quick 6 or 82 when I see him. He's such a good dude. He
is a great dude.
People forget, had he not had the knee problem, I don't know if he would have made the Hall of Fame, but he was a hell of a football player. And him and Jaws together for the first half of Quick's career was something else.
Yeah. Well, I think Mike Quick knows this. I hate to say it, but I think Quick knows this. But whatever records he has right now, they're going to get smashed. If AJ and Devontae play together for 5 to 6 years more, they're going to get smashed.
And when Mike played and Harold played, don't forget, they could get mugged then. You can't touch the receivers anymore.
Yeah, definitely. No doubt about it. All right. So again, thanks to Greg, Joel, and Jason, our newest Patreon members. They got in at patreon.com/InsideTheBirds, and they will get to experience our second Ask ITB live stream that we're going to do at the cutdown deadline and take the questions. That's an extra thing we're adding this month, and we wanted to do that for our members to reward them. So we look forward to doing the second Ask ITB live stream next week, right at the cutdown, and get some good quality back and forth there. Reminder that Inside the Birds is powered by our friends at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. It is the exclusive Jersey Shore resort of Inside the Birds. All right, so let's get into some procedural stuff. The Eagles have been making some moves. One of the moves is that they brought in a wide receiver, Freddie Swain, former 6th-round pick of the Seahawks in 2020, guy who's actually stretched the field when he's been on the field. I think his yards per catch is somewhere over like 15 or 16. It's pretty big in his career. But Adam, he also can return punts and kicks. And the big thing is the Eagles needed some bodies to play in tonight's game. We've got Tyree Cleveland, who's on the IR, and then Greg Ward has been out with an ankle. Quez Watkins and Britton Covey with the hamstring. So they needed some bodies, but he also can return punts. So it's a good idea to look at him. So
I talked to someone in scouting who he knows about Swain's background. This guy with another team, he goes, he's what you call an intermediate run after the catch receiver. Could cover, he could return, he could cover on specials. He was a former 6th round of the Seahawks in 2020. He's a back end of the roster guy. He's a number 5, but honestly, he's better than any potential number 5 that they have on the roster. So, and I know it's kind of crazy. He'll only go through. I'm assuming he went through yesterday's walkthrough, and that's all he could really do. So, I mean, you throw him in there and see what happens.
Yeah. So he was recently waived by the Dolphins. That was the 3rd team that he's been with since entering the league: Seahawks, Broncos, Dolphins. He had an injury earlier in camp and got waived injured, I believe, reverted, and then they just released him. They reached an injury settlement, and he must be healthy now because obviously he signed with the Eagles. So, like you said, opportunity for him to get a lot of reps against the Colts. Maybe he does something, and maybe he can return some punts and elbow his way here late. Because again, you still got a couple of weeks here before they have to play a game. So if you get him in camp and you feel like you may have something there's an opportunity. Sometimes you're just a camp body who's just trying to play in a game, right? The Eagles signed a slew of those guys a couple of days ago that are just here to play against the Colts. Maybe there's something with him, though. We'll see.
Well, here's, if you look at tonight's game, right? A.J. Brown-Smith, now Zacchaeus may play. They don't really need him to.
Right.
Greg Ward did not practice on Tuesday. Quez, we should mention, did return didn't do a lot. I watched him.
Limited, yeah.
Right. Didn't do, but he was back. Covey did not. Now Covey was I saw him doing some stuff on the side, but he didn't practice. Devin Allen has got a lot of work with the twos. He's still a long shot to make it, but he made some good catches. It wasn't just 9 routes. Saw him on a crosser. So the guys are probably going to dress tonight are Ngata. I don't think he makes it, but he's still fighting for a spot. He's had a nice camp.
Right.
He's a big body possession guy. He's got good hands. He's just not fast, and he's not going to get a lot of separation. But Ngata, Allen, Hasselwood, Kane has been back over a week. Swain, King. So they'll be able to dress 6. That should be able to get him through the game. But boy, if I'm the Eagles, I'd love to have Freddie Swain on my practice squad. Now, unfortunately, he's subject to waivers. So if they decide to waive him, he could be claimed by another team. But remember, he was waived from the Dolphins with the injury settlement. Nobody claimed him, passed their waivers. Eagles signed him a day before the game. I've seen this before. It doesn't happen a lot, but it's typically, as you were talking about, when a team has really got low numbers for a position for a preseason game, you need somebody to help you get through it, and this will help them.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And by the way, that sticks out to you that he was waived, cleared it, and then waived again after the settlement. So, and then was a free agent. So the Eagles signed him as a free agent. So he already was out there for any team, and the Eagles were able to get him. So that might be a good indicator for them that they've got an opportunity to bring him back to the practice squad if that's how it falls. And you're right. I can't imagine a whole lot of stressing the defense in this Colts game, knowing that Ngata and Hazelwood are not guys who run 4.3 40s. And
correct.
But maybe Allen, like you said, he did catch. He showed his speed in practice. Now, one of those balls he caught came off of and I really wonder if Nick Sirianni was trying to needle Shane Steichen a lot, because you don't see this a whole lot in joint practices, but that was a shovel pitch to Kenneth Gainwell that turned into a pass from Gainwell to Allen.
Great throw.
It was a great throw, but I mean, you don't usually see that. And I heard
the Calcaterra, you mean? No, the Calcaterra. That was the Calcaterra.
Was that I thought it was to Allen. Was it the Calcaterra?
I thought it was. In fact, I asked because I couldn't see the throw. I'm pretty certain it was Calcaterra.
You might be right. I could have made a mistake, but either way, you don't usually see that in joint practices.
Yeah, I know.
I heard the Colts kind of yelling about cheapy, like, "Come on, you know what are you doing there?"
Well, he's a left. I mean, the thing is, that was a great throw. He's a lefty. Threw it 40 yards down to the left sideline. That was a hell of a throw. In fact, I got blocked off. I couldn't see if it was Mariota. We had a nice practice, by the way. Against the Colts. I wanted to watch him a little bit more. And we'll get to that in later in the show, but in the end, so Swain comes in to make room. Fred Johnson was cut, not waived. He's a vested veteran now. If they want to bring him back, here's why they did it now. If he's on the week 1 roster, number one, as a vested veteran, his base salary could be fully guaranteed. They avoid paying him, and plus, if he played in this game and got hurt, they don't want to be on a hook for the salary. That's one reason to get rid of him. But here, let's move this forward. They are not good at backup left tackle.
Right. Now,
again, they could bring back Fred Johnson for week 2, and that's fine. But in the interim, you've got only 2 guys left to back up Mailata. Dennis Kelly, who doesn't have much left in the tank here, and Tyler Steen, who we talked to a scouting source from another team who was looking at the Eagles tape, because every team looks at each other's preseason tape. Said he didn't look great at left tackle.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, it's
anchor issues is what we were told. Yeah, we were told. Yeah.
This is an important position. The Eagles' depth at an offensive line is not good. Period. End of story.
So, do you think they make? My first thought was that, like you said, the procedural move of waiving him now and then bringing him back terminating. I'm sorry, terminating him now. Sometimes you make that move while teams still have their 90 guys, and they're not trying to make any moves now, so it's easier to kind of sneak them. And it's not waivers, but or sort of like make him out of sight, out of mind.
But here's the thing though, it wouldn't, because he's not waived.
Right.
The way this works with vested veterans is they have a wink, nod, nod deal with an agent. Yeah. Hey, listen, we don't want to guarantee his contract, but we want him back. Let him know if he's willing to do it. We'll bring him back, or they could just put him back to because remember now the veterans could be on the practice squad, which is one of your 16 practice squad players. You could have veterans, so it's a pretty good setup. Quite frankly, for veterans now, they could be with a team that's got a chance to win a Super Bowl, but we'll see what happens. But it leaves them in kind of a pickle, because right now who's going to make it in terms of the backups. Steen will be on the roster. Driscoll will be on the roster. Those are locks.
Right.
Other than that, okay. Let me correct myself. Brett Toth can play left tackle. He's played right tackle. He's practiced at right tackle, left tackle, and guard. So he would be the third guy, but man,
I still think Josh Andrews would be the third guy because he's a real backup
left
center.
Tackle?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I just thought you meant. I think at the moment, at the moment, that's Tyler Steen. But you're right because there's nobody else that they can keep that I think is a natural left tackle.
Right, but getting back, you're right though. Getting back to who's the okay, so
Steen, Driscoll, Andrews right now.
You're right. I'm sorry. I agree with that. That's 3. Okay,
yeah.
That's 8.
So your next guy, if you're going to keep 9, you're probably going to want someone like you're saying. Maybe it's Toth because he could, in a pinch, play tackle better than anybody of the first 3 guys. Well, yes. I don't know because now you're getting. While Steen has not exactly presented himself great yet this camp, neither is Brett Toth at left tackle. So in that case, you're just keeping a guy to have a body. I don't know that they want to do that. I think this is a position where we mentioned last podcast that you got to look and see what Howie does with what's out there, with who gets waived, and there's always maneuverings going on. So we'll have to see.
I mean, they're not the only team that's looking hard at the tackle market. I mean, I've talked about like 6 or 7 teams that they're just not finding any luck.
Right.
Because when you're in late August, as we are, the free agent tackles have been picked over. The guys that are out there is Taylor Lewan, who has not announced his retirement yet. Jason Peters wants to play, but I mean, come on. Juwan James would be a good one. He's been hurt a lot.
That's actually not a bad one. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Joe Haig, who's more of a guard right tackle. Ty Nsekhe, holy smokes, he might be close to 40. Playing the Arena League, I remember him. There's nothing. So, like you said, you're really looking at the veteran free agent market after the contracts are, after the cut, or maybe you claim a guy off waivers you had a decent grade on, which we see no matter what position teams do that. But man, this is not good. We're so used to their excellent depth. And I know Driscoll in a pinch could play left tackle, but it's not ideal. This is really good football team, but you'd like to have an answer, a decent answer, backup left tackle, which they don't have right now.
That is correct. All right, so we'll see what moves they have in store going forward there. All right, a couple injuries I want to get to, but first, it's Ocean Casino Resort's 5th birthday this summer. They can't wait to celebrate with you. So join Ocean for exciting promotions and sweepstakes, headline entertainment, the best day life and nightlife lineup in AC, the debut of the birthday bar, exclusive local collabs and partnerships, commemorative 5th birthday merchandise, and so much more. Don't miss stunning fireworks and unique events all summer long. Ocean Rewards members will enjoy over $5 million in gifts and prizes. So be sure to sign up for an Ocean Rewards card to get in on the fun next time you visit. All right, so we mentioned some of the wide receiver injuries: Greg Ward with the ankle, Britton Covey with the hamstring, Watkins, and Trey Sermon was also back and also limited at the
He actually
Colts
took
practice.
A lot of work. Actually,
he was listed as limited, I should say.
He did pretty well, from what I could see. So he's still a long shot. I still believe Penny gets in there. In fact, I know I talked to a scouting source who looked at the Eagles tape. He goes, he looked a little tentative to me, but my eyes in practice looks like he still runs well. I know they didn't work him a lot in terms of total reps, but he had some carries in camp. It wasn't like they completely shelved him. But it's this running back rotation for fantasy. Good luck, folks, because Gainwell looks like their main back, but we don't know what that means. It could be 8 touches a game. It could be 15. Who the hell knows? It's
just throw darts. Draft them all late, and then hope one of them either gets traded or just steps into a hole. Or
it's funny.
Two injuries and
ready for this one. I'm gonna Fantasy Points Dynasty League. I have Gainwell and Sanders, and I was gonna cut Gainwell this offseason. For some reason, I forgot about this team, and we just had our dynasty draft. It's all rookies and guys people threw back, who nobody wants. And I was looking because I was going to cut Gainwell, and I'm like, nah. Like 3 weeks ago, I was going to cut Gainwell. You know what? You never know. Maybe because they coaches like him. We've talked about this for 3 years. Now it looks like he'd be their main back, but I don't know what the hell that means. So I'm like, I'll keep him. But as you said, maybe.
How many guys do you get to keep? You're keeping Kenneth Gainwell?
Well, it's a dynasty league where you keep.
Okay.
We stretch the rosters up to 25 or 30. But I'm thinking 10 to 12 touches a game. And look, the guy's an incredible short yardage back.
Yeah.
You get 7 to 8 touchdowns. Who the hell knows?
Yeah, listen, it's always to your point. It's always good to have an Eagles running back with their running game and their offensive line and their weapon. Yeah, they're gonna score a lot of points. Sure. So that makes sense. Like that idea. All right. As for defense, Moro Jomo still out with the concussion. Reddick has the thumb surgery, where he'll be able to. They expect play by week 1 against the Patriots. Karan Johnson had an appendectomy.
Yeah.
That's always one of those weird things that you see on an injury report that sort of like makes you do a double take, right?
Yeah.
Like, whoa, appendectomy.
Yeah, and he is, literally fighting for a roster spot because his only true value to them right now is special teams, and boy, he's one of the fastest special teams players, and we obviously wish him well in his recovery. It's typically a 2-week recovery for this, then you can usually get cleared. But I don't know. They really need him. They lost 2 of their best coverage special teams players, and then Nolan Smith with the shoulder hasn't practiced yet. Oh, Jomo, by the way, was cleared to be at practice. I did see him, so that's good. So that means he doesn't have light sensitivity issues. He's there. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
That was good news to see that. And the good thing is their injury report is shrinking pretty significantly.
Yeah.
And we know where Reddick is. As you said, they think he'll be ready week 1. Great thing is Watkins did some work on Tuesday. Sermon was working. He looked good from movement. I watched him. But the big one is Nolan Smith, because we don't know with the thumb surgery is when Reddick plays in week 1, he's wearing a club, which is very difficult. Or is he going to wear a wrap? It's still different. Like you wrap differently. So look, we don't know about Nolan Smith. He kind of downplayed it, but until we see him practice, and
I saw
for sure.
Yeah, I saw him after practice, and he was like jumping around, like very happy, optimistic. He didn't look like a guy who, was like, "Damn, I'm probably going to be out for 3 more." You know what I'm saying? Like he was spry. He was hamming it up with some of the people on the sideline, and some of the players.
Well, you know what? Their first injury report will be Wednesday of week 1.
Yeah.
Well, no, if he's limited, then it's that'd be fine. At least he got some work in. But if he doesn't practice, that would not be a good sign.
All right, let's get to some of our observations from the joint practice against the Colts. Before we do that, we'll pause real quick for a word for some great sponsors. All right, so Adam, the big takeaway I had from that practice before it ended is that I thought the Eagles were having a very, very good practice. I thought they were very sharp. I'm talking about the starters mostly. That's when they were against the Colts starters. And clearly, I mean, you didn't even have to be watching very hard, but if you were paying 5 minutes of attention, you could tell that Jalen Hurts had it going with Brown and Devontae Smith. And I sort of feel bad for some of the Colts cornerbacks, because I'm sure they couldn't have slept very well that night, because it was getting a little ugly out there.
Yeah, they're really bad at corner to begin with. They probably have Kenny Moore's a really good slot.
Yeah,
but they have. Although I know they're very high on Juju Brents, who's a second rounder out of Kansas State, but overall their group is not very good, and they got victimized. Devontae Smith was special. It was so cool to watch. So what we're talking about in the Patreon chat or the live stream, because you don't want to take these guys for granted, AJ Brown and Smith, because they're great and elite. They're both elite. It's very rare we rarely use that term for anyone on this, on a show here, but they're elite at their position. They're both top 10 for sure. It's something else to watch them, and Hurts, this thing with his field vision is pretty special. This is where he's made the biggest jump of knowing where everybody is on the field. That's called field vision, and just his confidence, and also he's throwing with better anticipation. I've definitely picked this up watching him the last 2 years, particularly this summer.
Mm-hmm.
And people wonder, well, how much better he can get. That's it, throwing with more anticipation, and not that, he did a much better job of not bailing the pocket last year and not trying to run 20 and 21, he ran way too much on his own when it wasn't structured for that. But he's not really doing it much anymore. He's throwing the ball. He's just a super aggressive thrower. And then the other thing is obviously the dump offs to the running backs, and how many routes that they're running in practice is just crazy. Even if they don't get the ball, they're running routes. It's great to see. DeAndre Swift this practice ran a real nice route. He also had a nice outside zone run. Gainwell is Mr. Snaps. He gets the majority of the snaps. Now, again, we have no idea if that's going to be the case in the regular season, because it's going to be somewhat of a committee. But overall, like you said, their offense dominated the Colts defense. Now, the only area where I thought Well, it was more the twos. I thought the Eagles' second team offensive line had some issues, which they've had at times in camp.
Yeah, that is true. The poise of Jalen Hurts? I don't know if you remember the play where he fumbled the snap or dropped the snap.
Yep.
And he still was able to pick it up, look down the field, and see Devontae Smith had beaten. I think the guy's name was Darnell Baker Jr.
Yep.
By about 3 steps. So all he knew, he just had to put the ball up the air. It was a nice post, and Devontae caught it, and it was a touchdown. When you that to me, that's impressive. It's joint practice. You got the defense flying at you. You have an opposing defense flying at you, so they're not afraid, as we saw with Derek Barnett, to get a little close. And for him to be able to do that, I thought was, just vintage Jalen Hurts poise. And he really, if there's one takeaway from this camp, for me, offensively with Jalen Hurts and the receivers, it's that they haven't lost a step. It's funny because at this time last year, I remember having conversations with you just about, is he throwing to Jalen Hurts? Is he throwing to AJ Brown too much? Is Devontae going to get lost in this offense? But there are days where you've seen Dallas Goedert just have great days. There are days you've seen AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. I truly believe, and I try not to put too much into what we see in camp. So this is more about the context of who Devontae Smith is. I think he's on the doorstep of really being considered top 5, because when you watch him, even against the Colts or Browns or whatever, he does everything so precisely. He has so few flaws in his game, if any. And his contested catches are incredible for
with his size.
Strength.
In fact, AJ Brown's hands were inconsistent. He has good but not great hands. He drops some where you go, man, what concentration drops? Really?
Right.
I'm sure Smith has had drops as a pro. I just don't remember one, quite frankly. Zacchaeus looks good, by the way. He definitely just watching him. He's way more confident. He's been way more active the last couple of weeks. And the thing is, the term that you were talking about is called maintaining your downfield focus for a quarterback. When the pocket breaks down, you just have to. He would not have done this in 20 and 21 because he wasn't. He just wasn't confident like he is now, and his confidence is ridiculous. He looks like a 10-year pro out there. I don't know what else the superlatives I'm running out of him. He's just. I was saying to someone the other day. The best quarterback I've ever seen here. It was 2017 in my lifetime, including Jaws, was Wentz in 2017 before he got hurt. I really believe Hurts is approaching that level of elite. Like that's. To the point where you say like he's become a cleaner thrower. We talked about when we were doing shows in 2020, the struggles with mechanics and over the top thrower, not seeing it. Well, he sees everything. It's what else could you say? I mean, maybe you see some negatives. I don't really see, again, because he's not bailing anymore very much. No. I don't know. No,
I look forward to seeing what this offense is going to do this year. I think a lot of people do. The one thing you said, Mariota's them throwing better, and I noticed that too. There were no interceptions, so that's the one I don't believe he's throwing. But I was obstructed a little bit on the quarterback one-on-ones. I think I was watching linemen at the time, and when I got there, someone said to me like Mariota was like 1 of 8 or 2 of 8 in one-on-ones, and I said that's almost impossible. How in one-on-ones where everything is catered to you. But apparently he had sailed a few, and that's still a kink that's got to be ironed out, man.
That's his issue, is he overthrows. And the two positives are that his wheels are great. Like he moves. 'Cause I remember talking to the Raiders when he was there. They said he just was having problems. He looks great on the move. His wheels are back. He's healthy. The arm, by the way, is good. The arm strength is hair. The problem is he overthrows. And it's not by like a half yard or an eighth yard. It's sometimes like 10 yards, 5 yards. He's just got to be more accurate. That's what's missing now. Now, we know he's the backup. McKee's not competing for it. I'll tell you what, though, if he does well tonight, it helps his chances being the third quarterback. Remember last year, they claimed Ian Book off the Saints. They claimed him off waivers, and he stayed on the roster the whole season. Because if he lights it up in this game tonight, I don't think he gets through waivers. He's a quarterback. It's tough to develop quarterbacks. So many teams have bad quarterbacks, backups, even threes. And look, this call me fat. This is one of the many challenges the Eagles have with this roster. There's so many things they have to juggle.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's not like running backs and wide receivers where we're like, come on, guys, take it easy. You can cut this guy and get it, or waive him and get him there. Right. But quarterbacks, totally different animal. I agree with you on that. From defensively, from joint practices, Adam, I thought the Eagles defense was, and I think they may have sort of had an advantage here in that they know the scheme that the Colts are running. I mean, the Colts ran a lot of RPOs, a lot of zone reads. They were trying to, you saw Anthony Richardson get on the move a lot, and the Eagles were ready for that, as you would imagine they would be for a Shane Steichen coached offense and for what they do. So I there were a lot of times that you saw Jalen Carter in the backfield, a couple of times Barnett, who's always been a good run stopper. I felt like that they were a step ahead of what the Colts wanted to do. And that just made it in general. And by the way, was Pittman out there? Is he hurt?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I didn't really notice him doing. The whole passing offense for the Colts was sort of not there in any way. No downfield presence. And again, I think the Eagles were just a step ahead on what they wanted them to do.
The only area they beat them is on 1-on-1s. They had some guys win, but in team. Even in 7-on-7, I didn't think
no, you know what? 7-on-7, the Eagles had a blown when they were doing red zone. They had a couple. Either one was a blown coverage or one was just bad coverage. But tight ends got open on a corner route twice in the left corner of the end zone for a touchdown. Colts tight ends from Minshew. But I think that might have just been communication. So
yeah, I didn't see them win a lot. Certainly, they did win on 1-on-1s, but yeah, Alec Pierce caught one. Pittman caught a couple short passes, but it's just. The Colts are in, and they got the Jonathan Taylor issue, which is absurd.
Yeah,
it's not been handled well. So they've and by the way, for fantasy, the guy you want is Deion Jackson. He took a majority of the ones. I did watch that. I talked to my guy Jake Funk. It's good to see him. I met him at the Rams camp. He's competing for a roster spot with Zach Moss being hurt. He's out for a bit. I would just say overall, the Eagles dominate on both sides of the football, which is what you would expect.
Yeah. 100%. It's going to be a long year for the Colts. I still think so. My observation on Anthony Richardson was he showed you how he has a strong arm. I thought it was late though. He tried to deliver a couple of tight window passes late while a pass rush was bearing down on him, and they would either be incomplete, broken up, or put his receivers or tight ends in bad positions. And one of them, he tried to wedge one really quickly in between Reed Blankenship and Sidney Brown. And Sidney Brown caught up, pursued, and just drilled Mo Alley Cox.
I know.
Everybody stopped and listened. I'm like, what was that?
I know.
I was focused on it. It was, he really, if that's a game, he probably gets flagged for hitting a defenseless receiver.
Oh, and by the way, in the 2 preseason games, what we were told by someone from another team who looked at the Eagles tape, he might have been one of the fastest, most explosive players on the field on defense and also on special teams. He's a gunner. We know there going to be some challenges with coverage because he just was not asked to do it at all, really.
Yep.
Unless someone ran into his area, typically a tight end in Illinois. But he's showing up on tape, folks. It's just a matter of time before he starts, and it's going to be fun to watch.
He's Bobby Boucher. Like he's sitting there and he just makes a beeline for whatever target is in front of him.
I'm telling you, man. And apparently the tape showed that he was correct on his read. Now, obviously, there's no game planning. Now, when he plays in the regular season, because he's been limited in coverage, teams will know this, and they all watch his college tape. They're going to go after him. That's just something they're going to have to live with as he learns.
Yes, absolutely. You got the reference, right? You've seen the water.
Oh, yeah.
Making sure.
I'm not a big Adam Sandler fan, but at all, to be honest with you. I've never quite got it, but that was Waterboy is a great movie.
Waterboy is good. I agree. It's not like one of his best, even though it's sort of a cult classic. I think there are better, but Bobby Boucher. Everybody remembers Bobby Boucher.
Of course.
So, medulla oblongata. All right.
The voice, although Henry Winkler is so good though. Big Henry Winkler.
Yeah. It's amazing that he was the Fonz and then also that guy. And
I know. What a chance. I know.
Right. All right. So any other, that's about it I have for as far as practice observations, but there is one thing we talked about, and you said I should bring this up. All right. So we know Zach Cunningham is looking right now like he is going to be the linebacker alongside Nakobe Dean. Over. When they're in their kind of base formation or base nickel, if you want to call it that. There was a time where they were in a zone and it was a split zone, right? So Dean was on one left side of the zone and Cunningham on the right side. And the Colts ran a slant right in between them to a little guy I've never heard of, number 13, Cody something, right? And bam, they hit the slant in the middle. And then he caught the ball with so much space in between Dean and Cunningham that he had enough time to turn up the field and keep running. And I feel like it was the only time the Eagles looked at each other like they were embarrassed a little bit. And I felt like what happened was, because Zach Cunningham is more of a run guy than a pass guy, and because they were in that formation where they're split, where he got caught a little flat-footed there in pass coverage. Maybe they were expecting a run. Maybe they were in a formation that they, didn't know that the slant was coming. But I do think that that's something to watch for, as we know Zach Cunningham's going to be out there to stop the run. Yep. And as opponents key on that, and, New England week 1, New England's a team that can go heavy, 12 personnel, get tight ends out there, make you kind of respond with 2 linebackers and a run stopping linebacker, but then they can throw out of that play action, throw the ball to linebackers or slot receivers and try to throw on Zach Cunningham. So, I mean, the Eagles know this. I'm just saying, like, that was something that was it was one of the few really good plays I saw the Colts make, and it just looked like Cunningham was a little flat-footed there.
Yeah, in fact, we talked about this when they signed Jack and Cunningham. If one of those 2 guys, we thought Cunningham would win it, and he's won it, the weak side linebacker job. But it's, when I say weak side, it's 2 inside backers. When they're on the field on first and second down, they're going to target him. It's not like you can't throw on first down. They will, and they know this, and that's a way to beat the Eagles defense, which has got an unbelievable, arguably the NFL's best defensive line, and unbelievable depth at D tackle. It's quick drop, throw it over the middle, and see what happens, as you said, against Cunningham. And he looks, by the way, he looks really healthy. He's moving well.
Yeah.
That's good. And that's been the big thing with him, is he's just been injured over a series of years. And he was one of the better 3-4 inside backers for years until the set of injuries.
Right. And to counter what I was saying, to the point you're making, if you're the Eagles and your mission, we know Nick Sirianni's number 1 goal as a coach and as a strategist is don't give up explosive plays and create explosive plays, right? So if your defense gets exposed because you can throw some slants and some Texas routes to your running back in front of Zach Cunningham, the Eagles will say, all right, do that 10 or 11 or 12 times down the field. Fine. We'll eventually stop you on a 3rd and whatever when we have to, because we'll eventually sub out Zach and get somebody in pass coverage. So it's not the bane of their existence to have a guy out there who can't really, move as well as some other linebackers. So, all right, let's talk about the game tonight. Some things that we can expect to see. First, I want to remind everybody to check out our friends at PHLSportsNation.com. They're enhancing the fans' coverage of all Philadelphia sports teams. They're enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all Philadelphia sports teams. For the fan, by the fan. That's their motto. So make sure you check them out at PHLSportsNation.com and on Twitter at PHLSportsNation. And let's also pause to hear from our great friends at Sky Motor Cars.
Sky Motor Cars in Westchester is a different sort of dealership. All it takes is one look at their Highline pre-owned vehicles that people all over the country want and need. Owner Brett Schulter, make sure you don't spend a dime of your money before you purchase the car. Sky Motor Cars allows you to make all the decisions regarding your next vehicle. At Sky Motor Cars, you never have to spend more than necessary. Visit SkyMotorCars.com today or call 610-918-7225.
And if you happen to stop into Sky Motor Cars in Westchester, PA, make sure you tell them Adam and Geoff sent you. If you can't make it, it's always SkyMotorCars.com. All right. Offensively, we talked about McKee. This is a really good opportunity for him to say, you guys have to keep me on the 53 or else you're going to lose me for good. So a good performance out of him, I think, would pretty much seal that.
Yeah.
The question is, what would a bad performance do?
Oh, well, it would help him sneak through waivers potentially. It just depends how you define that.
Right.
That'll be interesting. And Ian Book is really struggled in the preseason so far. So
yeah,
it's their hope is obviously they want to have a developmental quarterback, and that's why they drafted McKee. He's obviously different than really different from Hurts and Mariota. Doesn't have their mobility, but man, he threw the ball well mechanically. He needs to be better. He doesn't have great mechanics, and that, as I was told by a scouting source, it does actually take a little power off of his throws, because he has a good arm, not a great arm, and he's a little mechanical with the way he throws, and he needs to be a little bit cleaner. Hurts' arm, which was good and not great when they drafted him, is even stronger now because he's cleaner mechanically. It's just you continue to work on it. In fact, you had this note like I guess 2 years ago.
The elongated wind up a little bit. Yeah.
It's much tighter. Yeah, there you go. So
yeah.
We'll have to see about that. But the guys on offense, so let's go over this. The guys on offense that so this important game for Calcaterra versus Arnold, potentially for the number 3 tight end, and Tyree Jackson.
And Tyree, yeah.
Who's come on the last week and a half. If they keep 3 tight ends, obviously they're going to have 1 or 2 on the practice squad. But remember, it's 53 plus 16. That's the way you look at it. One way or the other, they want to get these guys out there. Then the offensive line: Opeta, Toth, Steen, who obviously either start at right guard or left tackle tonight, and then Josh Sills, who I'm going to try to be as kind as possible, struggled mightily in the last game.
Yeah,
it was rough. He's not had a very good camp. We understand he needed more time because of what he was dealing with, but the Eagles threw him in there. And then, here's a question for you. Do you play Josh Andrews? Because right now he's a backup center.
Well, it is interesting, and I forgot to bring this up in our Colts outlook that we were recapped, but Cameron Tom did get some second-team reps at center in that practice. So I thought that was fairly interesting. And also, Adam, I've heard that they've been impressed with Julian Good-Jones's development. Now, not heard anything about him being a real candidate to make the 53, but probably somebody they want to keep around on the practice squad. So I'm very curious to see if him and Cameron Tom get some center reps in the game against the Colts.
How about Tom Cameron?
I don't think Tom Cameron's going to make it this year.
But and then Driscoll, he's been okay, just okay. We know, he's been a really good backup to Stefani of his rookie deal, but right now he's their top backup right tackle. He is their backup right tackle. We know he could play guard. So and then the Ngata, look, if he tears it up, there's an outside chance he makes it. I still don't. And let's put it this way: what if Devin Allen goes off for 150? Plus he's returned punts.
Yeah.
He's also returned punts in camp, not just kicks.
Right.
It's still unlikely he'll make it, but right now they don't have a number 5 receiver. Not that they need to have one, but although you need to dress you kind of need to dress 5 for a game.
Yeah. I don't listen. I think Devin Allen making the 53 is a hard sell. I think if you like him, if he has a great game, and you think after having a tough camp because he was injured to start off with, that you bring him on your practice squad, you elevate him a few times if he's ready, and then eventually sign him. Sure, but I can't, putting him on the 53 now, that would mean to me that they've been seeing something out of him, not just in the game, but in the practices that are hard for us to pick up from the naked eye. There's more that he's doing than we're able to see. Like you said, he did have a good practice against the Colts, so we'll see.
And then they have 6 backs on the roster. You wonder who will play tonight. Sermon was good enough to work on. Will he dress tonight? Kenny Brooks obviously will play.
Of course, sir. Sermon has to dress, doesn't he?
Well, no, but he just got back.
From the injury, yeah.
Although he looked pretty good cutting. So you assume right now it'll be Sermon and Brooks.
Yeah.
Who will be? Do you have to dress 3? You can't go into a game and not have at least 3 backs. So
yeah, you got to don't you have to play Boston Scott a little bit?
Yeah. Sure. So that's pretty much it, because people want to know about the third tight end job. But again, folks, they may not keep 3. See, the thing is, and we're going to get to defense in about 30 seconds. They're so good at D tackle; they all could contribute. And Marlon Tuipulotu is a guy that we're going to talk about in a minute. He absolutely 100% would be claimed off waivers if the Eagles cut. I don't think they're going to cut him. He's right now the backup nose, and he's been healthy for a change.
Yeah,
but
this
tape
is good.
Thing. What's that? Yeah,
his tape is good, and then plus, obviously Arizona and Indianapolis will be looking at their familiarity with the team. Yeah,
that's actually a great point, because think about it now. And Schwartzy's in Cleveland. You got these dispersed coaches.
Yep.
Staley, hey, he maybe knows some of these players. He got his guy Miles Sanders, so you never know.
Right.
If they shockingly cut Boston Scott, I'm not suggesting they're going to cut him. It's highly unlikely.
Yeah, shoot. Don't forget, Miami Dolphins got 2 guys now on their defensive staff: Vic Fangio and Joe Casper. Yeah,
Casper and the consultant.
Vic Fangio.
Yes, front of the team. Yes. Oh, by the way, Brad Seeley, the former legendary special teams coach, was with the Eagles for about a week. Now, I checked into the background. He doesn't have any overlap with Michael Clay. They're the Niners at different times. He's retired, but he was there. I saw him yapping it up with Sirianni. So maybe he knows Joe Panunzio, who's the one of the 3 special teams coaches. I don't know. I don't know who knows him, but it was just interesting to see him there. And we'll see if he's there anymore, because we know their special teams coverage was not so special last season, and two of their best coverage players are done for the season with torn Achilles. So that's an issue, folks.
100%. So let's talk about the corner situation.
Yeah,
because the top three aren't playing, and that leaves Job and Ricks. And unfortunately, Mario Goodrich got hurt. I mean, they didn't even list him on the initial injury
that was
report.
weird.
Then after practice, they let it be known that he's out with an injury, and this is bad because he was literally the backup slot that McPherson was practicing at. So now they're down to, like, I'm telling you, it looks smarter by the day that James Bradbury was practicing at nickel.
Yeah, look, he's not going to take a lot of season. He's an outside corner. You're not going to play him inside very much, if at all. But like you said, it's smart that they did it anyway. The big reason is they really wanted to see McPherson work on the outside. This is the year that he's got to show that he could play corner, because you don't draft a guy 4th round to play special teams only. He's got to play defense.
Right.
So in this case,
but Adam, they were still doing it, like, even after McPherson got hurt. They've been playing Bradbury.
No, I understand. I was going to. I saw it. No, I
yeah.
saw it. What I'm saying is his main position is going to be on the outside.
Oh yeah.
We're not paying him over $10 million to play.
No.
Yeah. But as you said, he's still doing it. Now the question is who's going to be, like, how they. Okay, we know Maddox is their slot. That's not in question. But if he got hurt, we know he's had injury history. I mean, I know Josiah Scott. We haven't really talked about him. He struggled last season. With Goodrich hurt, did they say what the injury is?
You know what? No, they said undisclosed injury, which was sort of strange.
Yeah. So we don't know how long he's going to be out, but they need to figure out who the backup slot is, because I was told Garner's not a slot. Check into his situation. Ringo's not. I don't know who can do. I don't know. That's a toughie. I mean,
yeah.
So go ahead.
Let me ask you this, as we sort of preview the 53, who do you think would be an easy, let's say Goodrich was healthy, because I thought he was playing fairly decently.
I had him on mine. I haven't done mine yet, but I had him on mine. I was thinking about that.
If you were to try to slide one of these two guys through waivers and then bring back to the practice squad, who do you think you'd have an easier time doing it with? Eli Ricks or Mario Goodrich?
Ricks.
See, I don't think I agree with you on that.
Really?
I've actually passed this around. I think Ricks, because he's Alabama, because he had a pick six, so he's got some good film. He's got some bad film too. He had some struggles last week in that game. Fell down a couple of times, but because he was supposed to be a great corner at Alabama. I think if you waived him and Goodrich, my sense is you could get both of them back. But if you were worried about losing one, I don't think Mario Goodrich is necessarily on anyone's radar.
Well, here's the thing, though. He's got positional versatility, which Ricks is not. That is really important when you're taking it back. They're called back end players, back end of your roster players. Ricks is like strictly an outside corner. Goodrich could play inside or outside. Neither is fast. So the bottom line is right now they're in a pickle. Look, you couldn't have planned for this. When this is you're down a couple slot guys. This is
right.
We'll have to see what happens here. And then
we'll see plenty of Ricks and Job. I imagine they'll be your starting outside corners against the Colts.
Yeah, well, right. Okay, right. Plus you got Garner, Ringo. Ringo needs work. He really does.
Oh, that's a good point. Garner, Ringo. Yeah, they'll probably be your second team. Yep.
Yeah. And then the big story the last week is like Justin Evans. Like, I know they've been rolling since camp started. Like, it seems like everyone's getting work with the ones at safety, but this is legitimate. This has been over a week now that Evans is getting work at safety. He is absolutely pushing Edmonds. Right now, I'd call it Edmonds 1, Justin Evans 1A for the starting job opposite Blankenship. I'm really interested to see tonight, does Edmonds play? Because if he does...
Edmonds.
Edmonds, I'm sorry. If Edmonds plays tonight, you know Evans is.
Right.
Edmonds plays, they just give you the answers to the test. You don't need to guess. The competition's open.
Yeah.
See.
Yeah, I'm okay. That's interesting. I mean, I expected at some point Evans. I think you and I both expected at some point Kevon Wallace was going to start to make his way back down, right? Because he was running with the starters, and everybody was like, "Oh, this might be the year he's going to be." No, Evans working his way up because he's starting to learn the defense. I didn't come away thinking he's already, because I did see him, yes, running with the first team in practice, but every safety has literally now ran with the first team.
But he got more ones. I believe he got more ones than the other backups.
But he was also getting that as a third safety. Like there was a lot of 3 safety stuff there. So I think all the safeties reps probably. I don't know. It's. I never thought of him as 1A. Maybe I'll digest this and think about it between him and Edmonds. Because what you're basically saying is then one of those two makes it. Along with Wallace, because I thought maybe Wallace versus Evans was the conversation that we were having for that fourth.
Start of camp, it sure was. But by the way, I'll say this about Wallace: his game tape, the 2 games, looked good in terms of tackling and good in special teams coverage. But we know his issues in pass coverage because he's just not, he's just not fast. But right now, to me, I don't see them keeping 5 safeties. We'll do our show Monday morning at 6 a.m. Eastern. That'll be our 53-man roster show. I'm so interested. It's funny. I've never wanted to watch Eagles preseason games as much as I wanted to watch this game. I don't know why, but because they have so many battles that are. Just the back end, and then you got this conundrum at safety, which you don't want at this time of year, but it is what it is.
Yeah. All right, interesting. Good stuff. And of course, we know that special teams is really important. So, and a lot of times the answers to the test are in who's on those units. So you can
one more
too. Yeah.
One more. Then Summerin looked very fast on special teams, which, he's very athletic and fast.
Yes.
The only way he makes any team is for specials. But this, if he shockingly makes it, it's strictly because the 2 guys are out and they need guys who could cover on special teams, because we know their special teams coverage was not so special last season.
Interesting. I would think if he makes it, they will have to then risk not keeping either Ellis or Morrow, because they are not going to keep 5 off-ball linebackers. They just don't have enough room.
Very low center. Exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. Good stuff. That almost gives us a lot of ammunition to carry into the next podcast.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. Who the hell knows? It's so. We just talked about 50 players here, but this is. This is gonna be fun. I should mention I'm doing my chat tonight at 8:00, right at the start of the game.
Yes, on Discord.
And if the game is not as bad as last week, maybe I'll do an hour. We'll see how it goes. But everyone who's there is free to stay as long as they want. And by the way, that is on our Discord channel on the general area. And we look forward to doing it. And you never know what's going to happen. We'll see.
Right. And of course, you can only do that by being a Patreon member. So good time again, inside patreon.com/InsideTheBirds. That's going to do it for this edition of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles Intel. As always, we thank you for flying with us inside the birds.